Republican president. Republicans think not only can we repeal, we can replace. However, in the past couple of hours, the Cato Institute, libertarian-leaning group, the Heritage Foundation, a conservative group, and Americans for Prosperity, a more of a Tea Party group, all say this is a bad plan.
Right. I mean, there are reasons that they didn't want to come out with the details of a plan, right? And part of it is because you're going to come under fire almost no matter what is in it. Look, I think there are many on the right who are going to have issues with many parts of this because the popular parts of the plan are not conservative, right? But they are expensive, and you have to figure out how to marry the moderates and the Tea Partiers on this stuff. And it's going to be tough. Some of this is people making noise to get changes in the bill. But this was always going to be extremely hard because an entitlement was given to people. It's hard to take it away. It was hard for Obama to do it, even while straight up lying about the fact that people were going to be able to keep their plans. Lost mine 4 times. I digress. And a compliant press basically saying that that would end up being the case. That was not the case. I'm glad Republicans are not making that case explicitly because it would not be true again. But they've won 3 national elections based on this pitch that they were going to repeal, one of them with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket. And they've won all 3 of those times. So I think there might be some area for boldness here that they're not taking. Right.
The burden is on them to do this because of that, though. The 2010, 2014, and then 2016, only the Obama re-election year, and the Republicans didn't get wiped out down below. In the Congress, they did okay in those elections. But they're moving this bill forward without a lot of the key details. Number one, how much would it cost? Number 2, how many people would be affected? How many people who have health insurance today, like Obamacare or not, how many people who have it today wouldn't have it under the Republican plan? That's called a score in Washington. The Congressional Budget Office needs to score it. The urgency is to move quickly, but Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leader, saying today, and most of the Democrats are just stepping aside. They want to let the Republicans have their own internal war over this, saying, how dare you advance this when we don't do the math?
Well, right. And, you know, let's be honest about the number the Democrats care about here. They don't care about the cost of this plan. I mean, Republicans are going to care a lot about the price tag on it. What Democrats are going to focus on are the number of people who will lose health insurance, who currently have health insurance. And then they're going to run across the country and they are going to find those people who are at risk of losing health insurance. And then you will see them written about in newspapers and you will see them on television. And that is the reason this is going to be so difficult for Republicans, because Mary Catherine said it's really difficult to take away an entitlement that you've already given someone, and you will always find a young sick person or an old grandma or someone who is sympathetic who is going to lose their coverage. And so Republicans are going to take heat for that. It will be interesting to watch this party that's now spent, you know, years running on this try to actually do it. It's almost, you know, running and winning elections is the easy part. It's the governing that's the hard part.
Governing is the hard part, and when you have something so complicated, and you're right, Republicans have the high ground politically because they can make the case. We campaigned on this in 2010. We got the House. We campaigned on this in 2014. We got the Senate back. We won the presidential election. The details are hard. When you have something so complicated, communicating is important. You should communicate with clarity, and you don't want to drive anybody away. Here's Congressman Jason Chaffetz, the Republican chairman on the House side, one of the key players in trying to help the leadership sell its plan. He's already walking this one back because people said, not the way you want to say this.
Well, we're getting rid of the individual mandate. We're getting rid of those things that people said that they don't want. And you know what? Americans have choices, and they've got to make a choice. And so maybe rather than getting that new iPhone that they just love and they want to go spend hundreds of dollars on that, maybe they should invest in their own health care. They've got to make those decisions themselves.
That was a little too honest, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to the point, it is. What he's saying essentially is this is your responsibility. We're going to a market-based system, and we're going to help you, but you have to do it. But that's probably not Communications 101.
Look, a significant part of what has destabilized the viability of Obamacare in its current form is the kind of detraction of it by Republicans in Congress and in state legislatures all across the country. The Republicans have an interesting choice now, which is do they shore up and validate the Republican alternative to Obamacare in a way that will support it and maintain it at the state level and make it more affordable or not? And the cost piece of it, whether you're giving up your iPhone or whether the government's going to subsidize it or whatever, is of course the biggest part. It's not even really the keeping your kids who are 26. Those kids are cheap anyway, and keeping those kids in the system makes it more likely that they will say, hey, I rely on insurance. I want to keep buying insurance. That's good for the system if you're going to take away a mandate. But it's making sure sick people can get coverage, mandating the coverage for women. It's these pieces that are really expensive, and until there's some Republican coalition agreement on who pays for it and how to guarantee it.
And to those points, and to the point you made earlier, Mary Catherine, it takes a couple of years to figure that out. The President of the United States, the former president, did say, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Didn't turn out that way. Didn't turn out anywhere close.
It's almost as if one could have predicted it, as I did.
But for people to actually have that happen to them takes some time. And so the Republicans need to pass this bill, and then you deal with the consequences later, which makes this a giant test for the President of the United States, because he has this internal feud in his own party. So today he's having some of the House deputy whips. For those of you at home, those are the people who help count the votes, members of the leadership team, junior members of the leadership team, but they go out and they count the votes. Are you for it? Are you for it? What do you need for you to be for it? That's what they do. And then he's having dinner this week with Ted Cruz. We are told by the White House the President is fully prepared to travel the country and make this case. He tweeted this morning. Our wonderful new health care bill is now out for review and negotiation. Obamacare is a complete and total disaster, is imploding fast. The negotiation part is what makes it interesting. How involved will this president be, and how involved does Speaker Ryan want him to be when it comes to where are the semicolons, what stays and what goes?
I think you look back to 2009 and the Democrats, and despite President Trump's newfound realization that this is complicated, you know, we've known it's complicated for a while, and you look at how long Democrats took in 2009. Max Baucus, it was working its way, and there was a lot of internal divisions over universal health care and how to do this. The difference now, it seems, with this bill is that it's being sort of attacked on both sides. Conservatives are attacking it over the cost of it, and there's some moderate Republicans who are worried about Medicaid and what happens in their states. So it's not like there's just a tug in one direction. It makes it a lot more complicated, given the fractious nature of the Republican Party and how people are looking at this bill, which needs more leadership from the president to sort of figure out how are we going to do this and what are we going to do.
Well, I think Trump, as always, is a wild card because he's not deeply